Anyways,
I
we are
love
now.
you.
Oh God, we are live now.
Oh, we're
I
live
don't
now.
care.
Yeah. Oh, good evening, everybody else. We're here on another episode of Sesame Streets.
Hi guys.
All right, it's working.
Oh, jeez.
I'm
Well,
glad you said something. I was about to like eat my mic, do some
so
sounds,
please,
but
please
worry, I'll
don't
do that
actually.
for you.
No, please don't. I don't want to edit that.
You don't have to. Just keep it in, dog.
Oh,
Keep it
fucking
in,
damn.
bro.
heck yeah.
Oh, well, tonight here, I'm your host, Brian. Moving on to. We're moving on with the intros, all right? Or we could say, fuck it, let's just jump into tonight's topic.
Yeah, bro. They already
As
know
we
who
do it.
They don't know
Fuck
who
we
we
ball.
are.
Yeah,
Yeah,
you're
dude.
right.
For real, bro.
People.
We should have like names on top of our heads by now.
Yeah.
Like little name tags.
Hey,
Yeah,
you're asking.
let's put a little name tags in our thing, bro.
Yeah, you're asking a little bit too much out of me, all right? I'm the one that's doing all this shit, and I'm lazy.
All right,
sorry.
give me the image.
Oh God. Yeah, I'll send that to you after the podcast.
Oh, baby.
But yeah, with today's
Hello,
topic. But yeah, today's topic, we're going to talk about should we all be homeschooled in the end? Now that sounds like a very much an out of context joke, which, depending on how you see this, it may as well be.
It's okay, y'all. Brian's a joke. We understand.
Oh.
Clown.
Dang, that must hurt.
Well, shit, all right. But anyways, what brought this to me? For me, I was mostly just seeing a lot of other articles that kind of just say the rise of a lot of like parents taking their kids out of from like schools to do homeschooling instead. And in this case, other pushes that they were going to try to ban homeschooling in general because the clause or the reason for wanting to ban homeschooling was the fact that it was still considered child abuse.
What?
That is at least what they
That
were
was
pushing
their-
for.
That was their reasoning.
Yeah, because they
Bro,
can't
middle
outright.
school isn't child abuse.
Yeah, they can't outright say that they want to control their kids. Sorry, hold on. Let me take off my tinfoil hat. Sorry about that. That's not the official
Our
way how
kids?
they. Yeah, something like that. Wait, do I have kids?
Our kids come
Not
on.
yet.
Oh no. But yes, so based on this too, let's go with this real quick about the homeschooling. Who has experience with homeschooling? Probably none of us here, because we all met up in high school at one point or the other.
Yes, I
Yeah,
went to
I don't know.
elementary school as well, and middle school, and high school.
Yeah. I was so into the public school system too that in my first few years in like from elementary school, I got sent to ESL.
Hey, same.
Damn.
Yeah, same.
Wait, was
I
it because
went to
was it because you guys couldn't speak English then, or?
No, I'm sure it's just because we're Asian.
Oh, okay.
I'm sure there was no reason for me to be sent to ESL.
Yeah, fair enough. Although to be fair though, I got sent to ESL while I was living in California, so if anything, it's like a little bit interesting. Only because I also lived in an area which was predominantly Vietnamese, and I got sent to ESL. I was the only Viet
Makes
kid
sense
that
to
got
me.
sent to ESL.
Bro, step
Never
it up.
mind.
The reason behind all this was because I was honestly just fucking super shy, and I could not actually talk to the teachers about what was wrong, what my name was. I didn't remember much about it too, but mostly because of the fact that I'm usually comfortable with like if I'm around my family, I don't know who that person is, so I got really like tensed up, which kind of explains my behavior to this point in time now.
Oh no.
But anyways, now based on in this case a very quick, we definitely did not research this last minute at all.
No, not at all.
But
Not at all.
But in this case, for you guys, what was your guys' views about, in this case, if you met someone that was homeschooled, what they were like, and were there like some stereotypes that you could think of immediately when you hear that, hey, I was homeschooled?
What's the stereotype of being homeschooled?
Most of the time, they end up being much more dumber than they were if they went to the public school route.
Well, I never met anyone homeschooled to begin with, so I don't know.
Same here.
Fair.
Don't have
Yeah,
that
fair.
experience, so I can't speak on it.
Yeah. But it's also like the other stereotype being that like the ones that are homeschooled are usually their families are like of super conservative nature, where they would rather control like what the kids learn in school kind of deal. So there's mostly like that's usually the stereotype. It's like, yeah, homeschooling is kind of close enough to be like, yeah, you could see like religious family would rather teach their kids themselves than let someone else do it.
Mm-hmm.
But here's a more interesting case too, where homeschooling has been on the rise in America. And I think the study was done during like 2019 to 2022. Yeah, coincidence, COVID. So I'm gonna put at least this hot or trash take about this one too. The only reason how I can really rationalize how or why people were pulling kids out of school was because a lot of those parents actually sat with their kids in these online classes and saw what they were teaching, and they're just like, "What the fuck is going on?"
Oh no, 100%. It's
I
exactly
always think
what it
that
was.
every day.
Yeah. Yeah, it's like the age-old question of like, what do they teach you guys in school? And then the family actually sits with them to these lessons. They're like, oh God, what the fuck is all this? Yeah, I won't say get too political about this either too, but it's also like the reason too, like our current school system is currently in a shit show right now.
It's absolute trash.
Yeah.
It is very.
That's not. It doesn't have to be what you call political. It's
It
a
just
fact.
is.
It's just trash.
Yeah, we can. Despite like me transferring out to all these different schools too, yeah, all my school experiences were still the same. It was just like, man, why do I keep getting into like mildly ghetto-ish like schools?
Mildly ghetto-ish schools. Look at that.
The most ghetto school I've been to would have been North Garland High School.
How the fuck is that ghetto, dog?
I mean, in my personal
Well,
point
if you're not in that whatever honors program they had, yeah, it was ghetto.
yeah,
No.
which in my cases was too. I was only in honors up for like most STEM classes, so English was hilarious.
Oh my god, man.
So there's that. But if anything else too, do y'all feel that in this case too that really the biggest reason why a lot of the kids are getting pulled out from schools is just because the parents saw what the schools were teaching?
Oh, 100%.
Yeah, probably. Yeah, maybe.
Yeah.
I mean, look, I saw what they were teaching Loy back when he was in high school, and that gave me an aneurysm.
Oh yeah, dude.
Yeah,
And Loy's only a few years younger than us.
2
Yeah.
years, bro.
so
2 grades
So-
below.
so yeah, it doesn't really spark us like any like doubt to like, yeah, I could see like if anything parents do have the ability to do that, but then it's like the whole push of again they're trying to prevent like kids from getting pulled out by trying to say we're just gonna ban homeschooling, and I'm like, well, hold on a second there, that doesn't sound right.
Sounds like they're restricting our abilities to choose how we want to do things.
They're restricting our freedoms, you say?
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's what it sounds like.
I mean, to be
Time
fair,
Sounds
for
like what they're trying to
revolution.
say to me.
to be fair though, wasn't like schools itself like a propaganda tool piece to begin with?
I don't
I
know.
have no clue about that, but
Oh, okay. Sorry, that was something that I remember like hearing a while back too. That like in history too, a lot of like regimes actually do use the education system to like create like nationalist
mean,
children's and whatnot.
It
Well,
happens.
yeah, that's what
yeah.
happens in the dictatorship countries. Yeah.
Exhibit A, Hitler.
Huh?
Yeah, Hitler did it too. In this case, there was
The youth
actually a
camps.
whole time. Yeah, youth camps too, and he even like labeled a lot of like the kids that were taught under like Hitler's regime as little Hitlers.
That is.
I shit you not. That is exactly what happened too. And if anything, they would go outright because again, little kids don't know any better. They would actually like rat out like people that were suspected like not Aryan. I think that's It's a
Yeah.
while back since I remembered.
But
So
either way, it's not that little kids don't know any better. It's that this is how they grew up and this is how they learn. I mean, do
they're
we
very
do we
impressionable.
personally technically know better? Do we technically know better? I
Exactly.
wouldn't say so.
Yeah.
And we
But
live in America, so that's just to put that things into perspective.
yeah. And I guess it makes it
How
like
do we know
scary
they're
for
not
kids.
doing stuff similar now?
Oh god. But
Brainwashing our children into the future.
it's like, well, shit.
I'm sure they are. And maybe that's why this whole homeschooling is rising.
Yeah.
That's all right, bro. That's all right. You know, it's fine in a homeschool or not. It doesn't even matter. Because in the end, you learn through life anyways.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, I know. I learned all of calculus through life.
Correct.
but there's like actually even though it's like the rising cases of people actually like getting pulled out from school, a lot of like the studies that have been done too are mostly like you can see that it's only like affecting those of like from like a lower wealth class compared to like everywhere else.
I'm sure everything affects lower wealth class.
Yeah. But I think you said it yesterday too, Victor, that at least for me, like you had like a really interesting point about that.
I forgot it.
Okay.
Nice. I was waiting for bated breath.
Damn it. All right. Let me fill it in then to help freshen your mind, Victor. It was in this case too that it was also the way how I kind of said to that, like even though like they're trying to paint like the lower wealth class too, where the lower wealth being the fact that a lot of times these people are usually doing their best to like not try to be in lower wealth class or try to go up the classes. So if anything, we would expect that like they would probably leave their kids in school, but they're actively taking their kids out and then teaching them personally about all this too, which kind of puts it to like a very interesting like spin about like what's actually going on. Like I think for what Victor has mentioned too, that like just because like people are in lower wealth class too doesn't really mean that they're also like don't have time to like teach their kids either, because half the time those that are in lower wealth classes usually do have like government subsidies that kind of help them a little bit too, so there's like less stress for them to worry about.
Not necessarily, but they do have a lot of support from government.
So which kind of then equates to the fact that with that support too, they can technically have like room to like at least like be able to teach their kids with some like the government support that they've been getting.
It's either they teach themselves or they send them to special schools like charter schools and stuff like that. Those are free for like low income people.
And then you look at the higher wealth class.
What's special about charter schools?
Think of it as it's just like if anything, I believe it's like think of like some or sort of like academy or school systems and whatnot too, but it's like funded by like a company of sorts. Like usually it's like a company founded, it's not like a government establishment per se.
Yeah, but they still receive government money.
Yeah, which is also a little bit weird.
That's a lot of nonsense, but either way.
Yeah. So realistically, that was something that we talked about too. And it's like the more we look at like the differences between like being lower and middle and then a high wealth class too. Higher wealth people, they can not really care if they put their kids through public schooling. Hell, they can actually just pay for the best teachers to teach their kids in the first place.
All right, they can send them to private schools for starting.
And then if you really think about it, mostly the people in the middle wealth gap too, we're actually the one getting fucked here. Because half the time too, both the parents are usually really busy with their jobs too, that they probably cannot actually go in to like help teach their kids. So therefore they're kind of like having to like pray or hope for the fact that the kids that they learn in school is actually worth it. But obviously based on the numbers too, we'll see.
Public school right now is just a daycare for the middle class.
Which is something
on top of that, the middle class gets taxed. The tax money that the middle class gets taxed by the city to pay for these schools as well. So they're losing money if they're not sending their kids to the schools.
Yeah, and It's very much like a interesting dilemma that it's like for like the kids that are stuck in schools too and whatnot too. So let's go back to the homeschooling part. There was a John Oliver piece that was like portrayed out where like a lot of the narrative was more or less like he was trying to make it seem that like homeschooling was technically like an abusive like way of like how to teach kids just because the family has more control over them, like taking away the child's freedom and whatnot too. But
What you mean, like a parent?
yeah, but
What?
realistically, someone actually took that apart, saying that wait, but hold on though, it's actually still fine in the first place. Not in this case that whatever statement I said earlier, but if anything, there are at least more parents that are taking it more seriously to try to take the time to educate their child, especially with the things that they need to like actually learn to either get to the college or university that they want or get into an entry of a job that they want as well, or anything else they want to achieve in life. They probably have more involved in a child's growth than anything else, really. I think that's the real push about like why homeschooling is actually a lot more attractive to some of these families too.
I know. Imagine a family teaching their kids values nowadays.
Yeah.
Oh, God forbid that.
God forbid it.
Yeah. Let's just at least throw this out there because I can't help it, because if we talk about this, I can't help but in this case it's just gonna sound political in the end. But realistically, what I've heard too, that people are really just dragging their kids out because a lot of times all these schools are like pushing really hard on like a lot of narratives too.
Yeah.
Such as
You were talking about earlier about how schools are used to like indoctrinate people. I mean, it's starting to feel more like that's what's happening nowadays.
yeah. Especially when you hear reports about like where kids actually like get told about like trans or like trans identity and like how to do like trans or trans surgery too, and it's like from schools, and they did say that it came from teachers too. Now I don't exactly know like what that percentage of number is, but to still say too that like imagine like a kid, like you're just accidentally eavesdropping into like a conversation too, then it's like one of them says that my kids were talking about like trans like surgery too at the age of like 6 or something. I'm like, what the fuck?
Yeah, a little odd.
It is.
No, very odd.
No, I was just being, I was being light
Quite
about
odd.
it. No, it's
Tremendously
actually
odd.
like it's
Yeah,
bizarre.
yeah. And I think a lot of times too, like I've already had my personal opinions about like with public education too, where like it makes sense that you would try to make this more like accessible for every family to be able to achieve, but nowadays too it doesn't feel that way anymore.
Mm.
Mostly because again, like we already had like all this discussion too about like the education system right now is not a really good way to like actually learn new things now, as a lot of times you can literally just learn everything online. But I think what
Granted,
is
you
more,
do have to, or you already have to learn everything online.
yeah,
That's also the other problem because the teachers teach you in class, but you
yeah,
have to go home and look it up anyway. So you're essentially teaching yourself whatever it is
yeah,
the teacher was trying to teach you in class.
yeah. And that itself can be a lot harder too, just because at least the problems that I went to, this sort of less my personal experience in college as well. A lot of times whenever you look for it, in this case I did this too, I look up a question, try to looking for answers. That was all I did, and that's how I passed a lot of my classes.
I'm sure that's how a lot of people pass their classes, not gonna lie.
Yeah, and if anything, there's really nothing wrong with that. It just means too that like either you're determined to try to
Well,
find the answer, and
technically,
also,
yes, there's a problem.
but yes, there is still a problem in the end, because did I learn the stuff that it was needed for? Like a marginal success, but it's marginally like, no, I didn't learn jack shit. But hopefully with the way how things are going to, a lot of times too, a lot of public schools are trying to like change their curriculum to like be more not accepting, but try to like adapt to like all this too. And if anything too, it's probably unfortunate too that like again, teachers here in America get paid like shit.
Oh,
Like
dude,
I saw
concur.
I saw like a skit too where like it just looks like a lady that was just outside in the streets like holding a cup, and the guy was just like right next to her. It was like, oh, she looked like she was homeless too, and like puts like in her empty cup like $5 bills, like, here you go for your troubles. Like, oh no, I'm actually a teacher. Oh, my bad. He gives him another $5. I was like, I laughed so hard at that skit, and I'm like, fuck, but that's actually kind of true right now too. We have more sympathy to
Yes.
like teachers too, just because of the fact that they're the ones in charge.
Teachers are severely underpaid.
They're
Yeah,
severely
but if
underpaid
they
for the
keep
most
doing the
important.
things they do, I'm not surprised.
Well, obviously not all of them are bad, but
I know.
like the saying goes. But yeah, no, I get you.
Yeah. And if anything too, it's probably not their fault too. Like, if anything, the curriculum is forcing them to teach all this too.
I
Just
mean,
'cause a lot
I
of
also
time-
think that some teachers are really genuine in their beliefs and their like agenda pushing ideals.
Yeah. But let's just say, for example, too, like if you guys actually had kids too, how would you like handle their education?
Dude, I
Honestly,
don't
I
even know
still,
anymore.
yeah, I don't know, bro. There's no good solution.
There
Absolutely
isn't
not.
one.
I still say send them to school to get them the exposure, but
Mhm.
at home I'll teach them how to think for themselves instead of
Yeah.
just taking on information from their teachers and their
Yeah.
fellow students and stuff like that.
Yeah.
I'm gonna ask my kid to wear a body cam so that he can record the curriculum every single day,
Yeah.
and I can review it.
I feel like that's illegal in some states. I'm not gonna lie to you.
It's illegal if they know about it.
Yeah, what the hell?
Okay. I'm thinking of
I'll
like
tell them just
the
to cover it
police
up
body
when they
cam.
go.
Oh god.
I just tell them to make sure that they like put their phone or something in the way of it whenever they're
Was
going
it-
to the restroom and such, not so we can avoid all of that.
Oh god.
But beyond that, they can, if they're in the classroom, they're showing me what's going on.
Yeah, because like it's really hard too, because like I would be the person dude that like I would actually still send my send my kid through public school too, probably because how I am too. I would probably do my best to like ask them about like what they learned today, how and all this stuff too, and I want to be involved with that kid's education. Just because one of those things, it's important for all of us, really.
Yeah, but
At least-
if they were like if your kids are gonna be anything like how I was, it's what'd you learn today? I don't know. I didn't do anything. I didn't learn anything.
Makes
Yeah.
sense to me.
Yeah, but in this case, probably help them like be more engaging with. In this case, they don't need to really engage with like other people, but try to engage their own mind about like learning or taking in their surroundings.
Yeah.
Make
That's
sure
why
you
I'll
know
teach
your
my kid
mind's
how to
eye.
how to think for themselves. That's
Yeah.
all that's important to me.
Yeah.
They'll find their own way. School is just a way to network with other people now.
And it's like it's so weird how that happens too, and it's something that like I actually started to notice a lot more in like college as well too. It didn't really feel like you were there to like learn anything from there too, and technically universities are not like public schools by any metric either, despite the fact that they have government subsidies. But
Yeah, it depends. There are public universities. They are public.
yeah, fuck, I don't know. It's very weird and interesting too, because like, do you think in this case universities should be kept at like prestige levels, like to the prestige and not just like available for everybody?
What?
Why shouldn't they be available for everyone?
Well, because for this point right now too, a lot of other companies, at least some financial analysts, have seen too that a lot of job openings right now too, they're actually dropping the need for like a bachelor's degree.
Yeah, I mean that also depends. Like that really does depend on what it is that you are getting a degree for. You know, tech field. Honestly, you don't need a degree. I will agree with that. But there's some other fields, you know, medical field. Maybe it'd be nice to have a degree and have all that training and all that, all those learnings. I don't want a doctor who doesn't know what he's doing operating on me, you know?
Yeah, like at least not a licensed doctor.
Or regardless, he has to learn somehow. So
Yeah.
in order to get
But-
the license.
Yeah, and it's also the same like idea with like an engineer. You don't want like some Joe Schmo from like a crack house to like build you a bridge.
Yeah, yeah.
So it's one of those things too that like I don't know if this is probably any better. This starts to talk a lot more about like education and value and whatnot too, but it might as well. This is how the conversations go anyway. We go from one point to the next.
I mean, it still relates. They're still talking about schooling and stuff like that, and why
Yeah,
homeschooling is a big thing now.
yeah.
No,
But so in this case too, would you think that like it's actually with homeschooling, would it be easier to specialize your kid then to do a certain thing in the future? Probably then, right?
special, yes. Yes, but that also means that whoever is teaching the kid, I'm assuming the parents,
Yeah.
they also have to understand what they want their kids to learn.
Mm-hmm.
Mhm.
Because if you just tell your kids to just go on the internet and start learning, like he's gonna,
Yeah.
the kid's gonna do a lot of things before he figures out what he wants to do.
Yeah. If anything, it's already happening right now with our public school system too. A lot of these kids don't typically know what they want to be in their life too. Outside of in this case, you ask them like as a child what they want to be, they say YouTube influencer. That just kind of kills my heart a little bit.
Problem is they have to do all these random things because that's how they
Yeah.
know what they want. Because if
Yeah.
you just see, this is the problem with going from high school to college. You have zero experience with literally anything else. So
Mhm.
if once you ask the kid like what they want to do in their lives, how are they gonna give a proper answer if they have zero like exposure to anything?
Yeah. So, if anything, do you think schooling right now should really facilitate like actually like courses where they can like interact with like different fields of like occupation then?
Technically, they do. I mean, it's electives. They do
Okay.
have them. I remember
Hmm.
back when I was in high school, there was like a computer science class and things like that. They they have different types of electives. Granted, there's not a lot of electives, but there are some different types.
Yeah.
Only other problem is it's only like a semester
Mm.
or or a semester or two, and I'm gonna be frank with you, that may not be enough time to really determine like
Yeah. Well,
determine if that's what the kid wants to do because it's an elective that they choose to do for that entire year or that entire semester. And
mm-hmm.
there's not that many semesters in like the school, like in the school year. Like, okay, let me rephrase that. There's not that many. There's not that many semesters in the whole duration of the kid going to school, like in high school and stuff.
Yeah. That's not
You get
like
what I'm
enough
saying?
to like, yeah, it's like, it's generally, it's like not giving them enough time to like really think about like what they're doing. Is it something that they want to do?
Yeah. So it's not. There's no easy. There's really no easy way to figure out.
Like what's best for the child?
To yeah.
And
And
honestly, I
those
think
who
it's
tell
like
you that they know the way, they're scammers. Watch out.
that. Oh, yeah, there's that too. But it's also like the degree of like they probably know better. They probably know better than I would too. But obviously, based on like pretty much all the people that are taking their kids out, they see the teacher that's teaching their classes. Like, what the fuck? No, don't teach them this. The hell is wrong with you?
Yeah.
Like, if anything too, although I will say this one is going to be a bad example too. A lot of it was like whenever they were posting like newer ways how like people were like solving math too, or like a teacher demonstrating a new way to like go about like specific math problems. To them, they criticize that like this is taking like way too long to like solve a question too. But a lot of them are trying to defend it, saying that it's supposed to be targeting, in this case, their much more critical thinking ability of like looking at this problem and try to see more about it instead of like just going straight into the solution. Which I'm like, okay,
I agree.
fair, which is kind of fair, but at the same time, it's also like, depending on some of the math questions that they are given too, I don't see why either way, either sense make, or either points make any sense really, because half the time that kid is probably going to use the calculator. By the time you guys have finished explaining your arguments, that kid has already figured out like 20 questions down the line just on his phone.
Yeah.
So it's either way, none of these issues or none of these practices that they're doing, to me, it's not that effective either. Because one of those things too, it's not technically engaging too. Because the problem is the fact, the way how it is, and homeschooling is going to be a challenge too. Because nowadays these kids, they need to find like more. There's going to need to be more ways to engage them, even now in a home setting environment, where maybe it might be easier because you're the parent and they say so. But that's also sort of, let's say, bad mindset to get into based on certain research.
It is.
And it's also probably going to fuck up the kids like mental like divide, or trying to divide up like his mentality of like, are you the teacher right now or the parent at the moment? That's like the current like mental question mental gymnastics that kid probably has to go through, be like, oh fuck.
Well, it shouldn't be a question. A parent should always be a teacher regardless. A teacher of life,
so?
if anything.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I mean, that would make sense, really. I don't know. And then there's a whole talk about it too, where like these schools are also trying to take away like parental rights to like their kids' education as well. Like there's all that argument too. I'm like,
what is that?
So that was like another like shitstorm that's going on right now. I'm still learning about this as we speak too, but based on what I've read or heard about it too, it's mostly because like a lot of times like the whole like banning of homeschooling, the whole precedence of that is people arguing against the ban of it too are mostly saying that these public education systems have been trying to erode away like parental like rights to their kids. It all started in this case.
Really wants to take the kids away, bro. What?
It's a very much like it's a very much a bizarre take too that like I said, I'm still looking into it, but it's sort of less like based on their arguments too. It's really because of the fact that like these kids, even like during schools, are getting more fucked up in the head than they were when they went to school. So it's just like, what is going on? And they're trying, like, they're genuinely like these parents that say that they're just more or less like, despite like what they said to, they're genuinely concerned for their kids. Like, I don't blame them. And then to them, it feels like the school is just trying to undermine like the parental rights. It says you don't know your kids better, but we do. It's just like, what the fuck?
Yeah, that's a bizarre claim. It's a very bizarre claim. Granted, I would say that a lot of parents don't really like not understand their kids fully, but I'm not sure if school is claiming that they know their kids better is
any better,
is
really
correct or not. Yeah.
Yeah.
Not just any better, if it's even correct or not.
Yeah. And like I said too, that's like probably the multiple faceted reason why that may be. It's because of like parents themselves feel like they're just being attacked by the school systems itself, really. Which, let's be honest here, I don't think if anything their worries about it seems ridiculous, but at the same time, they're not unwarranted either.
Mm-hmm.
It does feel like that too. It's like, man, this is what we get to for trying to be in the middle. We hear like both like shits that are being thrown at each other and just like, well, which one makes sense, which one doesn't? We don't really know per se. Because both sides are technically talking nonsense. And at the end of the day, the child is literally getting messed up about this whole argument or this whole ordeal. I don't know.
Yeah, I think that's the truest crime, which is going on.
Yeah.
Is just that like it feels like for some reason kids are now like the battleground for something. It's just like, why? They're always the battleground for something now.
Yeah, I was about to say they're always the battleground for something. If not,
it's like,
or something between parents.
Like Jesus. I thought in this case
they're the battlegrounds between society and parents.
Yeah, and I thought we had it set up too that they were like a protected class of citizens too.
That was always false.
Well. Like, and then anything too, like, and the only reason why I think parents do feel that way too, because a lot of times as well, apparently there's like push for like gender affirming cares too, where like kids can get like treatment for some things without their parents' consent. I'm like, wait, hold on a second there. Hold up. The fuck?
Nani?
it's very interesting too, where like they're trying to make it so that kids do not need to have like their parental say about any decision that they do, even though it's 100% the parents should be involved because, hey, let's be honest, kids don't know shit. So for them to sign up for something or to believe in something that they don't have full comprehension about is almost just as dangerous as
Yeah.
like trying to teach them, or just like for the people to believe in that ideology. Well, at least the
dude, I
adults.
don't even know what's going on anymore.
Don't worry, none of us really know either too. I like this, despite the fact too, like I like to have us discuss about things that hopefully like the story or like the whole topic itself like dies down a bit too. This is still like a recurring issue right now that's happening mostly here in America too.
Mm-hmm.
I say mostly here in America because the fact that compared to like other school systems too, yeah, they do have like different ways of how they handle like education too. That's either beneficial or whatnot too, or they makes them like pawns of the regime. I won't say point out names, but yeah, let's just say America is in a very weird and interesting spot about like where do we fix our education system from here on to, because homeschooling itself seems more like a reaction based on our declining public school system.
Yeah, I could actually agree with that, but I also don't think it's a bad reaction.
It's not a bad reaction either.
But I think I don't know. It's really weird because it really does depend on the quality of the parent who is teaching the children.
Yeah. Now, despite all this, dude, this is more or less assuming otherwise too, that we're like addressing to like maybe like the typical American families too, from like ranging from ranging from like the whites, blacks, and Mexican families too. Asian families tend to view homeschooling very differently. Based on like, I think what you said, Victor, about like, and what I asked you before too, that like, what is our cultural like view on like homeschooling?
Well, I mean, it's looked down upon only because of the way our parents and our older generation grew up. Most of the time they grew up like poor in a farm, and they always yearn for education, and they see like people with money in their country going to schools and stuff. So that's the mindset that they have coming over to America.
Right.
Is the idea that them going to school will provide them a much better life than what the parent can provide to the kid without school or anything like that, without any education of any type.
So if anything, it's like it doesn't feel that bad too, or it sounds like really the way how we just view about it too is the fact that if you hear like a Vietnamese kid is like homeschool too, it's just like the immediate reaction is like, oh, it's like probably no smarter than like a farmhand kind of shit.
Maybe, but I think that's also where the assumption that homeschooled kids are dumb and stuff kind of stem from.
Yeah, because like you would usually take like God damn it, my words are getting jumbled up here. My bad. Homeschooling is in this case something that we probably see like a lot more rural kids, at least here in the States. They probably do homeschooling just because probably the nearest school is like 30 miles away or 10 or 12 miles away from their house. So really it just makes it easier for them to like actually just teach them themselves. But obviously, depending on what the parents know, the kid only knows as much as the parent. Who knows? And I think it really to like fix the whole public school system really too is like, I don't know. Should we make it so that being a teacher is actually supposed to be a more credible field than it already should be by now? Just because at least in every other country respects their teachers. Like all their teachers are respected to a higher degree in profession than a lot.
Well,
you know what?
Okay, yeah, go ahead, Michael.
I just, while we were talking about the education system, and it may also kind of tie into it, But I feel like students have far less respect for their teachers. Now, don't get me wrong. Like, I always stand by the fact that I feel like a lot of the teachers nowadays are very meh. But students also have zero respect for their teachers.
Yeah, I
And
mean that's only because they see them as babysitters.
Yeah, that's the other issue about it too. Is like in America, we see school as like literally a daycare, despite the fact that you're like old enough to like speak and walk and maybe think a little bit.
Mm.
Yeah.
Indeed.
Yeah, it's so interesting too because like I've always had like questioned like the idea behind like what makes like to them think that school is just like a daycare for them. And obviously it's like mostly a lot of like the majority of population here in America are mostly middle wealth classes too. And if anything too, the only thing they care about right now is trying to like keep their job, make enough money to like pay for their houses, and if anything pay enough for all the taxes that they're being hit with as well for both parents. And if anything, they just again hope the fact that the student that they are putting them through is like they are learning enough, or they learned enough to at least get into the university and then get a job for themselves that they don't have to worry about them anymore. I don't know. It feels very disconnected in a way too. That I think in most cases, that I feel like in most cases too, homeschooling will at least like, for me, in my opinion too, it will probably ignite in this case a lot more healthier, or at least it will try to make parents go back into being part of a school, of being part of a child's life. Because that was also a weird thing about it too when we were going to school as well. Whenever we were in school, we were just like, oh, I mean, we're just here right now. Our parents are just somewhere else, I guess. And it was something like that too, or something to that extent. I wasn't the one that was also initially trying to be a bad kid either, too, with like wanting to try to skip classes, really. But obviously, it just felt like I was there. It felt like I was just there.
Yeah, bad kid.
Hey, fuck you. It's not my fault I smuggled an Indian kid out of high school. God. Do I want to elaborate this story on here? Probably not. Anyways.
Do it.
All right. So
no need.
Right.
Anyways,
we all know who it is.
But really, that's just how I at least like some parts of me. I guess right now we're gonna start pivoting into like the education system a bit more now. For in the way too that like if you think that homeschooling, the rise of people going to homeschooling is just like a reaction then too, how would you guys, or what would you guys do to fix like the problems that they have right now too? Would we try to emulate what another country is doing, or is there something that we could probably do?
now we got to consider the root of the problem first of all.
Mm,
And what is the root of our problem?
money.
Well, kind of. But
Yeah.
essentially, it's the people making the curriculum, the people controlling the curriculum that are to teach our kids. That's the biggest problem. You know, other countries with more reasonable citizens and more reasonable leaders in power, yeah, they want their citizens to learn to be smart, to contribute to the country. But America, I don't know what we're thinking. I don't know what these people in power are thinking. I don't know what they want. You know?
Yeah.
They want us stupid.
I
Maybe
mean, it kind of feels that way. Let's be honest too. Like I didn't learn jack shit.
Though, you know, stupid for what though was the question. Like so that they could stay in power. I mean, that's great and all, but
obviously, like if they fuck up too, there will be like a tremendous like firestorm heading their way.
But granted, even educated people, quote unquote educated people in America today aren't
like that much better.
That smart.
Oh,
they don't think for themselves is the problem. That's what I've observed from all these quote unquote smart people. They really don't think for themselves.
Yeah. Oh, I need to link you guys this video too, where it's just like it was some one of those like channels too where like they just get groups of random people to like come in to do like questionnaires or testings from, in this case, each other and whatnot too. It's anything, they just brought like wide range of like, I'll say 6 people, from like one person that was a PhD student and then a guy that's straight up from the Marines. And in this case,
Oh, I
out
know
of
what you're
all these
talking
six,
about.
it's like out of these 6 people, which one of them was the smartest? In this case, the one that they ranked in this case was the Asian Harvard student that ranked the smartest. Second, I forgot who it was. The third one is actually the Marine. And then afterwards, the 6th place was an actual PhD person that actually had like books that she published. It's kind of funny too. And it's
It's like
honestly
discipline
funny.
is like a big measure on how you absorb things.
See,
Yeah.
that's the thing though. Like people who go through these high levels of school, they mostly just regurgitate information from textbooks and other sources. They don't really think for themselves.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Because let's be honest too, the average Marine is actually it can be considered that he could probably do a master's of physics based on what the fuck they had to learn.
Well, also other
It's a-
problem is he learned through experience because
He has all the application.
big tank fires big round. How far does
Yeah.
that go?
Yeah, and
How
also
long does that go? Where does it start dropping?
and also, can you disassemble your rifle while under fire?
Yeah.
Like, there's a
Either
lot
way.
of that.
Military guys, they have experience on the field, so they
Mhm.
definitely know. They definitely know what they're doing. That's the
Yeah.
thing, though. They have experience with these
Mhm.
PhD students and stuff like that. PhD graduates. They're just things that you learn from books. They're not experience.
Yeah. And I think if anything, too, there's like a bigger question too, where people were like questioning the IQ test. Now, mind you, the people that are probably questioning the IQ test are probably the ones that scored really low. I'm gonna be honest
I
here.
never. We should take all of us should take an IQ test and see what
I'm
we get.
afraid of that.
I'm not. I wanted to. I want to see if
let's just all do it one day and then just figure out like what we get. I really am curious to see what they asked and what they like rate you on.
Mm-hmm. Like, oh shit, my bad. I had to burp real quick on that one. But
Nasty
yeah.
boy.
Yeah, but I think the way how I kind of view IQ tests too, it's not in a matter of like how much you know, but it's like trying to like comprehend the question either
Yeah, I think
as
IQ
quickly
is
as
IQ is like critical thinking more than anything. I mean, it would make sense.
yeah, it would make sense how a Marine can score the highest on that because critical thinking is something that's actually important.
I don't know, guys. All I have to say is if I do an IQ test and somehow score below 70, then I know IQ tests are false. All right?
All right, then we got to do it. We have to do it now.
And the funny thing
They're
about
not real.
And the funny thing about that too, from that video too, is the chick that got 6th place when viewing like her actual IQ score too. She was in this case the one earlier before the IQ test saying that having a high IQ is like a big signal or notifier of like your intelligence too. But then when she got the lowest, she wants to throw that out the window.
Damn.
It's essentially that's what it feels like. And then the Marine guy, it was like he was just getting bashed on by practically everybody, thinking that he was probably like the dumbest in the group too. But obviously, he is actually hella smart. There's never once in my mind that I think like a Marine is actually dumb as shit, unless they're the special ones.
Yeah, the crayon eaters.
Yeah, the SEALs are different. SEALs are practically like trained differently. My God, they scare me. But moving on from that point.
We're trained differently. I mean, they're special forces. Obviously, they have to be trained differently.
Yeah.
Marines are not. I mean, granted, Marines also have their own special operations unit, whatever.
Yeah.
Anyways.
But if anything, it does show too that like again too that probably based on like how these people were taught to, it plays into a very big role on like how like to gauge someone's intelligence, or how in this case how public education system varies differently based on where it's being applied. that Asian guy too that scored the highest too, and he's like from Harvard, probably because that guy also worked his ass off too. Like, let's not be shy about the two, because apparently it's hard now for Asian people to get into Harvard now.
Well, that shouldn't matter. I mean, granted, Harvard is not like a merit-based school.
It's not a
As
merit
much
based
as
school,
people, as much as people want to believe that you do not get in Harvard just because you're smart.
yeah. Like, you do have to do like all these extra things, which I'm pretty sure this guy did do. We're not going to discredit like all of his previous achievements or downplay
Hey,
any of
not
his
saying
achievements.
not saying not possible, but Harvard requires a lot of connections.
Yeah. So, well, if anything, yeah, we got that going too. And it's like, who knows? Maybe in this case for schools too, it might as well just be boot camp XD. Probably not the best idea, honestly.
No, not at all.
Man.
I think honestly, the best way to learn is just live life
Mm,
and learn what you need to learn. Go on YouTube, do what you need to do.
yeah.
Figure out what you want to do and start Googling it from there.
Yeah.
That's what
Because
we're
like,
doing anyways. That's what we have to do now. I mean, once we graduate college, that's what we've been doing.
yeah. Because like Lois, it's technically you're probably the most latest person that we know here that's like finished school here. Not latest, but in this case, I guess based on the year that we are in right now, you're not that fresh off from like done with school too. Would you say that what we talked about is technically true, or if anything, you probably have your opinions or stories you want to share?
Uh, I didn't really have much of an opinion when I went to school. I just kind of went to school
Yeah.
to be honest.
Okay, so pretty much
Well, it
in
was
my opinion group then.
it was more just getting life experience at that point. There's some educational value, but it was more about how to navigate and talk with people and all that. That's what school taught me, just knowing how to talk to people and
Mm,
being more proactive and not sit around.
yeah, I
That's what it
mean,
really.
yeah, that was essentially what it felt like to me, which always thought too, like for school to be having that type of feeling for like, really, it's just odd. I don't know. Maybe in this case, my value in education is different, and that probably in this case too, I've actually did think about too. If I did have like a child or a kids of my own too, I'll probably be more involved with what they learn in school and whatnot.
Mm-hmm.
Probably teach them
Well, it's
the
not
great conquest of
also,
Rome.
also, let's not confuse education with school,
Yeah,
because that seems to be extremely common.
yeah. Because obviously you can get education anywhere, right?
Yeah.
Now, the type of education that a person gets, it will be very dependent on what they want to pursue.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Indeed.
so I guess at the end of the day, yay or nay, would you think about like actually think about homeschooling your kids?
I don't know, man.
No.
Nah.
No.
I'm the guy who's gonna score a 70 on the IQ test. Do you really think you can like train my kid?
Hey man,
Okay.
we don't
So,
know back then.
like I said before, I say no because I want to send my kids to school so that they can make friends, they
Mhm.
can meet new people, they can network essentially, and when they come
Right.
home, I can teach them how to essentially think for themselves, how to look for the facts, how to come up with your own conclusion, those kind of things. That's what I'll teach them. I'll teach them the life skills. School
Mhm.
can teach them whatever, and then they can network on top. They can do networking on top of it.
Right.
Homeschooling. So the disadvantage that I'm now seeing with homeschooling is that you don't get to meet anyone really, and
Yeah.
that's equally as bad.
Yeah. Although there have been cases too that like there are people that when they do homeschooling, they do have their kids like volunteer a lot as well. So at least that's some of the stories that I've heard with like maybe some groups of people that do homeschooling. But obviously this doesn't really apply to everybody. But there is
Volunteering. I mean,
methods.
yeah,
Like
volunteering.
I think if anything, I would just say this: homeschooling can work too, but you as the parent need to put in the effort of like trying to enrich your child with different experiences.
Yeah, I'm gonna teach my kid differently, so
Yeah.
I'll send him to school anyways.
Send them to school and then correct whatever wrong the school did. I think that's also another good reason to like why people
I
end up
don't need to
homeschooling.
correct. I don't need to correct them if I teach my kid correctly, because then my kid will know this is stupid, and then they'll learn
Yeah.
it themselves.
Yeah.
That's how I'll teach him.
Mm. Yeah, because at the end of the day,
Like I
you.
said,
Hmm.
like I said, I want them to think for themselves, not just
Right.
absorb information.
Mm-hmm. And obviously, too, the kids themselves, at the end of the day, they're still kids. Just let them be kids, like, for fuck's sakes. It's like one of those things, too, that I see people that are like trying to make kids become like supporters of like different ideals. I'm like, dog. When I was a kid, too, I didn't give a fuck about that. I just want to see if I can find the biggest stick in the woods. Or, okay.
Yeah, bro. When I was a kid, all I wanted to do was play ball.
Yeah, play ball, or in this case, we go into a friend's house to play a Halo like split screen. Try
Yes,
to see,
sir.
and we try to fight
Y'all
over
get that?
either. It's either that too, or it's like the multitude of things that like you would think that a kid would do, right? Just let them like have fun with what they have right now, because obviously right now to us, like we just barely graduated like college and whatnot too. It's hitting me really hard too. That's just like shit. I should be an adult now, but obviously I feel like I don't.
That's all right, bro. I too feel like a child.
Yeah, it's very odd, but if anything too, it's like maybe the bigger question is let kids be kids, and it's just like I think the better phrase is let people just be people, right? Let them live out like the lives that they feel that is best to. And obviously, nobody likes to listen to someone else telling them what to do. If I feel like some people could, if they could and whatnot too, they would probably sock their boss right in the face for telling them something stupid.
Yeah.
But obviously, we have morals and standards. Therefore, that's never going to happen.
Some of us.
Some of us. I'll at least say 1 out of 5 people will probably disagree with me. but
I
feel
disagree. Just disagree.
Hey, fuck you, you contrarian bastard.
Yeah.
But if anything, I posted down in our Discord chat about an IQ test that we could take too. So after the podcast, so we can actually see what goes on here. I'm honestly curious about this shit too, because like I honestly don't know.
But what if you're good at test taking?
No, I don't.
Is an open notes test.
I don't think this matters then, Michael, too, because like you're not supposed to like write down or anything. It's purely mental stuff. Like do things in your head.
I'm gonna be going mental after this.
I need to study first.
And there's no. The thing is, with IQ tests, do you actually study for those, or technically you don't?
I mean, what can you study? They don't ask like. I don't know what they ask. We'll see. We'll figure it out. We'll see what happens.
Yeah, we'll figure it out too. I'll probably post it in our Twitter page of like all of our results on there.
Oh, baby. I like what I'm hearing.
How each 4 of us scored here. Who knows? Maybe Loy ends up being the smartest one here, or I might be the smartest one. Who knows?
Yeah.
Hey, fuck you.
Bro.
Look.
Don't mean shit.
Look, my head is look, my head is big, but it's not big on thoughts.
Makes sense to me. Yeah, me have that massive ego.
God damn. Do I have a massive ego? Hell no. You know what? At this point in the day and age, you've got to have massive egos now in order to actually fucking feel good about yourself. Let's be honest. A healthy amount of ego is good.
I guess.
Yeah, it's okay as long as you have a healthy amount of ego with you.
Healthy is not massive.
Yeah. Well,
Math.
well. Anyways, do y'all have any last notes that we ended off here today? This is more or less a short podcast, too, but it's also because right now it's already a holiday season as well. I don't think we're gonna probably have a podcast next week too, because Saturday I'll be out at Anime Friends here.
Yeah, we
Yeah.
Yeah. If anything, too. Yeah, this whole month is like stacked up like for the holidays. So, we'll see what happens for us.
Dude. Do do do. Do
Yeah,
do do
yeah.
do do.
But if anything, too, if you don't hear back from us, I'll try to be much more engaging, probably elsewhere. I'll probably say those that have watched it on YouTube engage with us on our Twitter handle too, or on the YouTube comments. Doesn't matter. Or maybe in this case, I'll probably take up that one guy's suggestion to actually post it on Spotify. Or the more interesting thing, how would you feel if I post our clips on TikTok?
bro, do whatever you want, bro.
Sure, dude. Do it. But you won't, bitch.
What?
Damn.
Oh, damn. All right, shit. All right, we'll see then here. Anyways, good luck. See you guys in a bit. Happy holidays, everybody.
Yeah, in a bit, in a long
Yeah.
bit.
Mm-hmm.
Good night, everyone.
Goodbye.
Good night.